No big movie studio wanted to do this creepy movie, and the artistic designer almost got arrested for the artwork for it, but the movie still won the hearts of viewers and critics, becoming one of the classics in its genre, and giving the start to a franchise about fighting extraterrestrial monsters.
Movies Inside Out presents
Alien is a sci-fi horror film by Ridley Scott that premiered in 1979, scaring millions of viewers around the world to death. Watch our new video to find out what impact Star Wars had on the movie, why actors fainted on set, and what scene led one of the actresses to a breakdown, and more. Ready? Let's begin.
In space, no one can hear you scream.
Before we move on with the video, I have some great news. As requested by our subscribers, we've launched memberships. If you become a channel member, you will get exclusive stickers, the chance to choose the next video, your nickname will be in the credits, and many other cool things. Subscribe, become a member, we'd be grateful. This will allow us to make more exciting episodes for you more often. Now, let's get back to the video. The creation story. The story of Alien began in the early 1970s. When the screenwriter Dan O'Bannon teamed up with the director John Carpenter and the concept artist Ron Cobb to work on the sci-fi comedy film Dark Star, as a part of studying cinematic arts at the University of Southern California. The movie featured an alien that looked like a painted beach ball with rubber legs. However, O'Bannon wanted to scale his experience and create a more realistic and terrifying alien for a real horror movie. In the mid-70s, he started working on a scary story about a team of astronauts on a spaceship. In the meantime, O'Bannon came in touch with Ronald Shusett, who offered to work together on the script for the movie Total Recall, which came out only in 1990. However, screenwriters decided to start working on O'Bannon's movie first, as they believed production cost for it would be less. They chose Star Beast as the working title for the motion picture, but O'Bannon didn't like it, and he changed it to Alien, pointing out how frequently the word is used in the screenplay. Later, O'Bannon shared that his sources of inspiration while working on the screenplay were movies like The Thing from Another World, Forbidden Planet, and Planet of the Vampires. When the screenplay was mostly done, O'Bannon and Shusett decided to send copies of the draft to different film studios. They pitched it as Jaws in space, but no one wanted to invest in the movie Alien because of excessive violence and gore. Luckily, a bit later, their mutual acquaintance gave their script to Walter Hill, David Giler, and Gordon Carroll, founders of Brandywine Film Production Company linked to 20th Century Fox Studios. Brandywine signed a contract with O'Bannon and Shusett, but Hill and Giler weren't happy with the script, so they did a lot of editing, making it less dark, which the authors of the original version didn't really like. Even after the script was changed, Fox was hesitant to finance the sci-fi movie, and it wasn't until Star Wars became a hit in 1977 that they got really interested in the project. The studio gave Alien the green light with a starting budget of $4.2 million. Initially, O'Bannon wanted to direct the movie himself, but the studio offered Hill to take over it. He rejected the offer, deeming work on special effects too complicated. Fox also offered the director's chair to Peter Yates, John Borman, Jack Clayton, Robert Aldrich, and Robert Altman, but none of them took the film seriously, thinking it was another low-grade horror movie. Then the studio execs invited Ridley Scott to become the director of Alien after being impressed with his movie The Duelists, and he immediately said yes. Scott prepared a detailed shot-by-shot breakdown, including the design of the spaceship and costumes that Fox loved so much that they doubled the movie budget. However, Scott wanted to lean towards science fiction rather than horror like in the films 2001: A Space Odyssey and Star Wars. He described Alien as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of science fiction. Casting. Casting and auditions for the movie took place both in New York and London. Ridley Scott wanted each cast member to be charismatic, as there are only 7 characters in the script. Curiously, the screenwriters initially stated that all roles are gender neutral, giving the director and casting directors absolute freedom in picking actors. By the way, the characters of Ripley was originally a man. The movie creators saw Tom Skerritt as Dallas from the early development stage, but back then the actor turned down the role as the project didn't have a director and the budget was pretty low.
If you wanted to give me some money to do, I'd be happy to. Watch, man.
After he found out that Scott would direct the film and the budget was bumped to $8.4 million, Skerritt agreed to come on board. John Hurt was the first candidate for the role of Kane that Scott considered, but he was busy doing a project in South Africa, so the role went to John Finch. Finch got seriously sick on the first day of filming, and Hurt had just dropped out to the project that didn't work out, so he could pick up the role of Kane. Meryl Streep was considered for the role of Ripley, but she was mourning the death of her fiancé, John Cazale, at the time, so Scott decided to cast Sigourney Weaver, an experienced theater actress who wasn't really known in the movie world. The creators were impressed with her audition, and she became the last actress who scored the role after auditioning in the studio while they were setting up decorations. Veronica Cartwright already did horror and sci-fi films. She appeared in the movies The Birds and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Initially, she wanted to play Ripley, and she found out she got the role of Lambert only when they were trying on their costumes. The actress didn't like her character's weakness, but the creators convinced her that viewers would project their fear onto Lambert, so Cartwright agreed to take on the role. Yaphet Kotto was offered the role of Parker after his successful performance as the villain in the James Bond movie Live and Let Die. Ian Holm, who got the role of Ash, was the most experienced actor in the cast, having done 20 movies by 1979. While auditioning for the role of Brett, Harry Dean Stanton stated that he didn't like science fiction and films about monsters. Scott found those words amusing, but he still managed to convince the actor to take the role, assuring him the movie would be similar to a thriller like 10 Little Indians. The role of the alien was given to a 26-year-old Nigerian student, Balaji Badio. One of the crew members noticed him in a bar. When Scott saw the 6'10" guy with extraordinarily long and thin arms and legs, he knew straight away that he would nail the character of the creepy alien. To help actors gain a deeper understanding of their characters, Ridley Scott wrote a short background story for each of them. The director also recorded a lot of rehearsals to capture the improvisation and spontaneous actions of the actors, and all of those recordings came in handy during the filming proper. The filming process. Filming of Alien started on July 5, 1978, and lasted only 14 weeks due to low budget and pressure from Vox. Most of the filming took place at Shepperton Studios near London, while the scenes with models and miniatures were shot at the Bray Film Studio in Water Oakley. Swiss artist Hans Rudolf Giger was the artistic designer for the movie. He was the person who designed all stages of the alien, from an egg to a mature species, as well as the setting, the surface of the planetoid, and the abandoned ship. Curiously, when Giger was bringing his illustrations from Switzerland to the US, the American customs officers deemed them too graphic and took the artist for a maniac and pervert. 'Cause it's the States, baby! Luckily, Dan O'Bannon explained to the customs officers that those eerie pictures were for the movie. They hired more than 200 workers and technicians to build a set based on Giger's concept. The desert-like landscape on the surface of the planetoid was achieved with the use of tons of sand, plaster, fiberglass, stones, and gravel. They made 3 models of Nostromo of different sizes, 12 inches, 4 feet, and 12 feet, to shoot from different angles. They also built a separate decoration for the bottom part of the ship from which Narcissus departed. The models were made out of wood, acrylic glass, plastic, and scrap metal. They also used details from tech modeling kits. To give viewers a better understanding of the size of Nostromo, they built a 58-foot landing leg, which was featured in the scene of the ship landing on the planet. But Scott wanted to make the decoration seem even bigger, so he asked his sons Jake and Luke, and the son of the cinematographer Derek Vanlint, to walk by the leg instead of adult actors. He used the same technique to film the scene with Space Jockey. By the way, Scott was so eager to film a scene with Space Jockey that he spent $500,000 on its creation. Later on, the filmmakers regretted not spending this much money on ideas that would be more significant to the plot. Scenes with the floating ship were shot against a black background with stars using double exposure. Motion control was already a thing back at the time, but they couldn't afford to use this technique. The actors had to film in thick, bulky costumes lined with nylon. No cooling system, no ventilation holes, no GPS, no Wi-Fi, no Google Assistant. But hey, what did you expect for $8 million? Apart from that, it was unbearably hot on the set and a lot of actors fainted, so nurses always had oxygen tanks on hand. Here's an interesting fact. Actors improvised most of the dialogue and Ridley Scott took charge of all scenes shot on a handheld camera. To make the alien look as realistic as possible in close shots, the Italian special effects master Carlo Rambaldi made the head out of 900 movable elements set in motion by a system of hinges and cables. Apart from that, they had to repaint the head after each take because the slime dissolved the paint. John Hurt was the only actor who knew the full story behind the filming of the scariest scene where the alien embryo burst through Kane's chest. They employed 4 cameras to film the scene, and they did it on the first take. They used a fake torso stuffed with real animal organs and blood, while Hurt was put under the table, so that his arms and head were visible. When the crew member pierced the fake chest with the monster's model, Veronica Cartwright got sprayed with blood, who got so scared that she had a breakdown. The audience could witness her genuine reaction on screen. Curiously, Scott secretly moved walls closer little by little every day to amplify the feeling of being cramped up. By the way, John Hurt suffered from claustrophobia. As for the scene where Parker blows off Ash's head, they created a torso with an animatronic head and put it on a dwarf actor. Facial expressions on the fake face looked too unconvincing, so they decided to feature Ian Holm in the scene making a hole in the table for his head. Ash's intestines were made of milk, caviar, fiber optics, and urinary catheters. As for blood, instead of milk that quickly went sour, they used tinted water. Facehugger was made from a sheep's intestine, and it was filled with pieces of meat, fish, and shellfish. During the attack scenes, Facehugger was shot from the egg with high-pressure air hoses. By the way, Facehugger was the first creature designed by Giger, but the final version was done by O'Bannon and Ron Cobb. The latter suggested the monster has acid for blood. The egg that Kane was examining was made out of acrylic glass. Inside, there was a cow's stomach and a sheep's intestine, which the director moved around wearing rubber gloves. The ship's cat Jonesy was played by 4 similar cats. To make the cat hiss at the alien appearing behind Brett, they brought a dog on set and scared the cat with it.
Come on, cat.
Initially, the movie was supposed to end with Nostromo being destroyed and Ripley escaping on the Narcissus shuttle. However, Scott had a 4th act in mind in which the alien breaks into the shuttle and attacks Ripley. The director pitched the idea to the Fox studio, getting more money and shooting days. As for his idea to end the film with Alien biting Ripley's head off, producers declined it. Filming of Alien wrapped on October 21, 1978, and post-production finished at the end of January 1979. Movie mistakes and errors. And now, let's take a look at how many mistakes and inconsistencies the movie creators couldn't avoid. What's your guess? Share it in the comments. At the beginning of the movie, stars in the sky don't change their position even though Nostromo is shot from different angles. Then you can spot moving dippy birds, but you would need water for them to work, which would have evaporated a long time ago, considering that the characters spent so long in hibernation. There are a lot of misspellings on the screens of Nostromo computers. Alignment is spelled with 2 L's. Override, on the contrary, misses an R. Apart from that, they should have used the word ensure instead of insure. When Dallas comes to Mother, one of the light bulbs to his left is dead, but it works in the next frame. And when Parker and Brett are walking down the long corridor, you can catch a glimpse of their reflection in the mirror that was used to make the corridors seem longer. Ash stands right behind Parker, but in the close-up shot, he speaks to Parker as if he were standing to his left. Looking at the flight chart on the screen, you can think that the ship is rapidly approaching the planet, but in reality, it is going very slowly. The hole in Space Jockey's chest is way bigger in the long shot than in the close-up shot. At first, the alien egg looks moist, then it suddenly dries out and goes back to the way it looked initially. You can also see that the droplets fall upwards. This is due to shots being played backward. The headlamp on Lambert's helmet is on at first, and then it turns off and back on. There's textile helmet lining on Kane's head that you can spot before he's attacked by a facehugger. However, there's no sign of it later on. In the close-up shot, you can also see the facehugger breathe, while in the long shot, it's motionless. Two holes in the ceiling of two different decks have the exact same shape because they use the same shot twice. Then you can see threads attached to the facehugger's fingers. They're used to manipulate the model. When Lambert says that there are 10 more months until they reach Earth, Ripley sits straight, but in the next shot, she leans on the wall, although she had no time to change her position. In the same scene, the Wayland logo on Dallas's shirt goes from golden to dark blue and then back to golden, and when Brett is called a parrot, the length of his cigarette keeps changing. At first, Kane's t-shirt is untucked, but then it's magically tucked in when the alien embryo rips through his chest, and you can notice two metal rods supporting its head for a couple of seconds. In the same scene, the amount of blood on Kane's shirt changes depending on the angle, and there are some blood bags under it seen for a split second. Moreover, Parker still holds Kane's hand even after he takes a couple of steps back. Before Alien snatches Brett, you can clearly see the cords that were used to put the alien behind the character's back. Before Dallas is taken by the alien, Ash's headset disappears, while Dallas somehow has way more alien slime on his fingers than a couple of seconds ago. The huge bruise on Ripley's face completely disappears in a couple of minutes. Out of 4 lines of text on the screen, only 1 reflects on her face. When Ripley consults Mother, she puts her left hand on a ledge and starts typing with her right hand. However, in the next shot, she types with both of her hands, and in the next long shot, she still leans on the ledge. The milky sweat on Ash's forehead disappears of its own accord, even though the actor hasn't wiped it away. In the scene where Ash is going after Ripley, the cameraman accidentally hits the wind chime, which makes Ian Holm turn around in confusion. And when Ash throws Ripley aside, you can see that this is Sigourney Weaver's stunt double with thicker hair. In the fight scene between Parker and Ash, the right sleeve on Parker's t-shirt is intact, then it suddenly gets ripped off, so you can see a safety pin that was keeping the fabric together. Then the shirt is okay again, and we see how Ash rips it. In the same scene, Lambert throws Ash's body aside. However, in the next shot, it's back to its place, and Lambert tases him. After that, you can see wires attached to Ash's fake torso without legs. Then, Ash's animatronic head abruptly changes to his real head, and there's a hole in the table next to it. The alien's tail slips between Lambert's legs with sneakers on while she's been wearing cowboy boots this whole time. The word danger is sloppily colored with a felt tip marker, and the button labels are gibberish. The manual on canceling the countdown is just a French translation of the detonation instructions that Ripley followed earlier. Before Ripley goes to the Narcissus shuttle, she holds Jonesy's carrier with the window to the front, but a couple of seconds later, it's facing backward. Moreover, in some shots, the carrier is empty. Although Ripley's face has been sweaty the whole time, her clothes miraculously stay dry. When Ripley is hiding in the closet, there are 3 axes on the wall. When she puts on her spacesuit, the number of axes go down, and when she puts on the helmet, there's only 1 axe on the wall left. When Ripley leaves the closet and buckles up, the straps change their position in different shots, and the fogged helmet clears up with the change of shot. On the hypersleep chamber, there's number 723, even though there wasn't anything there a few moments ago. So how many errors did you spot while watching the film? Share your number in the comments. Deleted scenes. The first cut of Alien was over 3 hours, but the creators had to cut more than an hour's worth of scenes which they thought didn't seem realistic enough and slowed down the narrative pace. Most of the deleted scenes were included in the Laserdisc edition, while the rest of the episodes were featured in the 2003 director's cut. Fun fact, Scott decided not only to release the original film with additional scenes, but to put together an alternative version, substituting some of the theatrical scenes with new episodes. For instance, Kane makes breakfast after waking up. The crew listens to a message from the abandoned ship. Lambert doesn't want to let Kane with the facehugger on board. Ripley radios Parker and Brett and gets an update on the repairs. The crew examines Kane's state and finds a black spot on his lung. Brett suggests they use nets to catch the escaped alien. Ripley asks Lambert if she has slept with Ash. Ripley finds Cocoon Dallas and Brett morphed into an egg and burns them. There's also an extended scene of Brett dying. Parker, Ripley, and Lambert trying to kick the alien out of the hatch, and a better look at how the alien was getting ready to attack Lambert. Worldwide recognition. The film Alien got an R rating in the US and had a limited release on May 25, 1979. The movie had no official premiere, but a lot of people wanted to go to the first screenings at Grauman's Theater in Hollywood, where they had a lot of marketing materials like models, decorations, and props. A lot of people got so scared by the movie that they ran out of the theater screaming, and one Jewish rabbi set a model of Space Jockey on fire, believing it was the work of the devil. I would assume they used holy water to put the fire out. The movie did great at the box office, grossing around $100 million worldwide with an official budget of $11 million. The cast salaries are not disclosed, but some sources say that Sigourney Weaver was paid only about $30,000 to $35,000. The first critic reviews of Alien were mixed. The movie creators were accused of a lack of imagination, while the movie itself was described as a superficial mix of tricks and special effects. At the same time, they admitted that the director managed to create truly horrifying entertainment, and proclaimed that Weaver would become one of the biggest stars of the new generation. However, a lot of disappointed critics changed their minds a bit later, and Alien got universal recognition as one of the most influential sci-fi movies of all time. In 2002, the film was selected for the National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. Despite the mixed reaction of critics to the movie when it premiered, Alien received several accolades. For instance, it was nominated for Oscars in the categories Best Set and Best Visual Effects, taking the prize in the latter. BAFTA awards included the movie in 7 categories, and the film won 2 of them, Best Soundtrack and Best Production Design. Apart from that, the composer, Jerry Goldsmith, who did the music to the movie, received Golden Globes and Grammy nominations, while the directorial work and special effects were acknowledged with the Silver Seashell at San Sebastian International Film Festival. Alien also scored 7 Saturn Awards nominations, winning awards for Best Science Fiction Film, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actress for Veronica Cartwright. The undeniable success of the movie implied a sequel, but Fox Studios stated that they didn't make any money off the movie and that they had no intention to finance a sequel.
How does that happen?
It happens, my dear, because that's what the company wants to happen.
Since when is that standard procedure?
Standard procedure is to do what the hell they tell you to do.
Brandywine suspected the studio of intentional underreporting of income and went to court. The process was settled only in 1983 when Fox agreed to start the development of the sequel. The movie Aliens was filmed by James Cameron and premiered in 1986. Alien 3 by David Fincher premiered in 1992. And Alien Resurrection by Jean-Pierre Jeunet came out in 1997. Sigourney Weaver tried to refuse to appear in each sequel, but the producers lured her in with a big salary and artistic freedom. Apart from that, there were 2 crossovers with the Predator franchise, AVP Alien vs. Predator and AVPR Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. There was also the 2012 spin-off Prometheus with the 2017 sequel Alien Covenant. The premiere of the new installment in the franchise, Alien Romulus, is scheduled for August 2024. Which installment of the Alien franchise do you like the most?